The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and guest and are not necessarily those of WPSL or WSTU. This station does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without the express permission and written consent of this station. Phone lines are open for your questions and comments. Call 220-9788 or 340-1590. And now, here's your host.
And you're in the studios with the Treasure Coast Car Guy, Steve Friend. Welcome back. Gary's here too.
Hi. Good to see you. How are you?
Good.
Good. So today I thought we would start the show off by talking about Takata, which is the company in Japan that is making the replacement airbags for some 42 million cars that were recalled. So, Gary.
Yes, sir.
What can you tell us about that?
I can tell you a lot. This came out the later part of last week. They announced it. Oh, and they announced it in Japan, which is a day ahead of us. So it was a Monday for them. It was a Sunday for us. And it states that a Toyota-based supplier filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing more than $10 billion in liabilities. Takata entered the bankruptcy filing with a plan to sell the company to a United States airbag manufacturer named Key Safety Systems Incorporated. So they're going to take over manufacturing the airbags for Takata. They bought Takata for 180 billion yen. So do you know what that translates to? That's a lot of money.
That sounds like a lot of money, but then again,
it's $1.6 billion.
What they bought, though, is they bought a lot of liability,
They bought a lot of
didn't they?
liabilities.
Yeah.
They sure did. They sure did. But
well,
you know
somehow, I don't know, legally speaking, if that is so much the case. But what I will say is what I found interesting was that they filed bankruptcy in Japan, and they have, I guess, subsidiaries where they filed bankruptcy in the United States as well.
Yes.
But the reason why it's so important to really discuss this right now is to allay people's fears that have these recall cars, whether or not they're going to be fixed.
Yeah, they're going to be fixed. This company that purchased them is going to continue to manufacture airbags. There's 43 million airbag inflators that are currently subject to recall, and the statistics are saying that 38% of them have been repaired as of May the 26th. There was also 19 million vehicles in Japan that were affected by this recall, and 73% of those are completed. This month, we just received airbags for the 2010 ESs, so now we can fix 7 through 10. We're waiting for the 2010 GX airbag, which is supposed to come out this week.
Gary, is it 2010 ES 2010 through 12?
No, it's 2007 through 10. So 2011 and 12 are supposed to hit the parts department in September, along with the ISC, the convertible model.
It's interesting. According to an article that was in USA Today, it says the company's airbags are used on vehicles for nearly all the world's major automakers, affecting about 1/4 of all vehicles on the road in the United States as of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And these are passenger airbags that are...
Some are both, and some is either
Yeah.
or.
Okay,
It
okay.
depends on how they built them with what they call a desiccant. The non-desiccated airbags are the ones that are subject to the recalls because of the heat, humidity, moisture, and things like that get into the airbag. It's last time I was here, I was educated everybody. It's called phased stabilized ammonium nitrate. That's what the igniting system in the airbag is. It causes it to. It's a controlled explosion. So the ones that aren't desiccated are the ones that are being recalled. If you ever bought a pair of shoes or something, you look in the shoe box, you see this little bag that's sitting in there, and you're wondering, what's that? And it says, do not eat on it. That's desiccant.
Okay.
So that's what absorbs moisture. And now the ones that they're building are going to have desiccant in them. But you know what's interesting about Takata is Takata was founded by the Takata family in the 1930s as a textile maker. They produced parachutes for the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II. In 1960, it started manufacturing seat belts for local auto manufacturers, which were leading the country's industrial expansion. A few years later, Honda asked Takata to look into manufacturing airbags. A gentleman by the name of Juichiro Takata, who had taken over the company from his father, Takizo Takata, in 1974, initially hesitated about building airbags.
Okay.
He said that airbags deploy in a controlled explosion, and he judged the risks of making them to be too great. Well, eventually they relented, and by 1989, airbags had become standard of all U.S. cars. And in 1990, Takata produced the first airbag. In the early 2000s, Takata started using ammonium nitrate as a propellant, and that's where we're at with the phase-stabilized ammonium
What
nitrate.
year was that, Gary?
In the year 2000.
Interesting.
So that's why all the older cars aren't affected by this recall.
Have you ever been in a car, driving a car, and in an accident with the airbag going on?
Negative. You have.
No.
Well, I had one time, and it was really quite an interesting scenario. This was years ago, and it was in when I worked for a Chevrolet dealership down south in Broward County, and I was driving home on 95, and I was driving a brand new, I'll never forget it, it was a Z28 Camaro with T-tops,
Okay.
and
Right up my alley.
it was really quite interesting. It was very heavy traffic, and I was going north, and there was a like a flatbed car carrier with old compressed shells of cars.
Okay.
That kind of blew by a lot of the traffic in the second to the left lane, and a hood blew off one of the cars,
Oh, goodness.
and the hood was dancing on 95 literally, and everybody was trying to figure out where it was going to go. Well, sure enough.
Now, I did do that. We did that one time. We had a 77 Cadillac Eldorado with the ginormous hood.
Giant.
And I
car.
was driving a teeny tiny little Toyota pickup truck, and they were both my cars. My husband we were taking the Cadillac home, and the hood on 95 blew off. I mean, I could still envision it. It blew off. It went up in the air, and it came down right in front of me, and I was able to go around it on the shoulder. But if had that hit, the hood was bigger than my Toyota.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
And it was bouncing right towards me, and it ended up, it hit the front, and it kind of got lodged in the front wheels, and the car started to turn by
okay,
itself.
yeah,
at
because you
7
weren't connected with the road anymore.
At 70 miles an hour, and then another truck came by and nicked me in the back, and it put me in a full spin, and I ended up going towards the east side wall on 95 at about 70 miles an hour and hit head on. And it was very interesting because I had no expectation level of how the impact was going to be with the airbag, and I just basically put my two arms over my face,
Okay.
and hit the wall, and then bounced off. And I remember I bounced back into the second lane, got hit again, then opened the door and walked out. And what was amazing was both airbags blew because it was a perfect frontal hit. And the car did exactly what it was supposed to do with the crumple zones, where
Right.
the front bumper and everything basically folded up right into the
Right.
front windshield. The engine dropped. So it was really a classic case of the way a car should respond that way. But what was interesting was it was so fast with the airbag that you just don't even realize it. I didn't really feel anything, I guess, because I was bracing
So
myself.
it wasn't there, and then it was there, and
Exactly.
you're not really sure at what
Exactly.
point that happened.
Well, I will tell you, it definitely saved my life. And what was really interesting was, I remember I was wearing a dress shirt, and all of the stuff, the propellant, I guess,
Right,
the
right.
gas that was
Okay.
in the airbag was all over my shirt. And when I finally got home at about 3 in the morning that night, actually, I remember hanging up my shirt, and in the morning, my whole shirt disintegrated from
Yeah.
the
Ammonium nitrate.
Wow.
yeah, that will do it.
Yeah. Most
And-
people that get in those accidents, though, what happens to them for the airbags is they get burns on them. They get abrasions like road rash and stuff like that, and sometimes propellant burns and stuff. But
Well, I was fortunate because I knew it was happening, so I really covered my face. But it's pretty scary. But I will tell you that airbags are definitely a lifesaver, and with that seatbelt on, I mean, really, I walked out. I had a little cut on my forehead from my ring.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Right.
other
I
than
was
that-
thinking when you said you put your hands up that you may end up then like punching yourself in the face.
Yeah. Well,
Because that is such a forceful event.
well, we know that we always beat ourselves up when we don't do the best that we possibly can.
That's
But it wasn't
right.
quite like that. But my ring did impact
Yeah.
my top forehead because it's very easy to bleed up there. So it looked a lot worse than it was. But I remember that accident, and the car was totaled. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, General Motors actually bought that car back from the insurance company to do their studies with it.
Wow.
Because it was such a perfect type
Right.
accident. But at that point, I realized, I was never in an accident like that before. Maybe a fender bender or something, but nothing of that magnitude. and the airbags.
Yeah, and I can imagine you had absolutely no control over the vehicle
Zero.
because of the hood.
Zero control.
Yeah.
And it was really it was very frightening. But I will tell you that the airbags definitely save lives, and it's probably one of the best innovations that we've had, along with anti-locking brakes that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But
It's a
Well, it's
pretty
definitely
aggressive
something
explosion.
that you want to have that you don't ever want to use.
Yes, and they're called supplemental restraint systems. The primary restraint system in an automobile is the seatbelt. So the things that a lot of people don't understand is that they should, and it's the law, you should wear your seatbelt, because if you do not wear your seatbelt and you get involved in an accident and the airbag comes up, the airbag will throw you underneath the car if you're not restrained in the seat. So you have to have that. Now they've got knee airbags, and there's some cars have 10 airbags in them. We have cars.
the
that have
majority
10,
of our
yeah,
cars have 10 airbags.
Yeah.
So
And,
that's a lot.
I mean, basically, you're encapsulated in a whole car with side curtains, and lower curtains,
It's like
and
Demolition Man
airbags.
when they go into the pond.
Yeah. So, I mean, thank God this is, it's great safety stuff. But like you said, it's kind of like insurance.
Yes.
You don't want to use it,
Right.
God forbid, an emergency. But at the end of the day, it's very interesting because this recall spans along 39 different manufacturers
Yeah.
worldwide. And fortunately for Lexus, it was really a small percentage of cars. But even if it's just one, we obviously
It's
the
too many.
manufacturer has an obligation to really make sure and take care of it, make sure we get the parts. So the parts are coming. We do have schedules for anybody who has a Lexus that is impacted, or for that matter, Toyota that's impacted. We do have tentative schedules when these airbags are going to be released. So if you'd like, you can call us at either or the Lexus store or the Toyota
Right.
dealership.
Well, the client care center has all that information. Call them and they'll let you know when your airbag is subject to come in.
And so we could take care of that. But
Another
fortunately,
thing, let me mention one more thing before we go there, is that Lexus is the only manufacturer out there right now that is actually, if clients do not feel safe driving these automobiles, even though it's only the passenger side airbag, Lexus will put you in a rental car until your airbag arrives.
and one other thing that
That's
Lexus
amazing.
does,
Yeah.
and we've had people in cars for
Oh,
a while now.
7 months.
Yeah, waiting for the parts. Another interesting thing, let's say people, it's an older car, some of the older ones, 07, 08, 09, 010s, and somebody wants to trade that car in. Lexus has authorized incentives up to $2,500 on the sale or lease of a new vehicle. So up to $2,500 extra. So not only are they sensitive to the fact that, there's a slight devaluation because of the airbag issue, because you can't really resell the car. I mean, there are companies that do, but I mean, the way we operate, I mean, it would be unconscionable to sell a car with a bad airbag.
Well, we don't sell cars with recalls.
Yeah, period.
Any recalls.
Any kind of recall. It's just not the right thing to
And what
do.
happens to those cars? They just
Well,
they
the
wait it
remedies-
out and
yeah,
for the
way
fix?
the way recalls happen is that there's an investigation, and a lot of manufacturers will voluntarily recall cars without the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration getting involved in that. They'll say, "Oh, we got a problem. We need to get these cars fixed." Once they recognize that problem, they immediately start coming up with a remedy, they call it, and they'll put out what's called an interim recall, and they'll put a stop sale on our inventory and our loaner cars and stuff like that. The remedy usually follows, like, it's a week maybe right after that. Then the remedy comes, and then we fix the cars, and then they're okay. The airbag situation is a whole different animal because of the magnitude of that recall and the
And
parts
it's
availability.
all
and
cars. It's not just
it's-
Lexus
yes,
or
it's
Toyota
all
or
cars. So,
But the airbag is really, it's the most critical because of, the potential of what really can happen or what doesn't happen. But there are other types of recalls that are not necessarily safety recalls that are that
Right.
won't really impact the safety of the vehicle, but things
Emissions
that have
and
to be
things.
done.
Right.
So, one of the ways that we find out about it instantly, I mean, there is a government website that Gary can go over in just a minute, but when people come in to trade cars, or a lot of people want to sell their cars outright, the first thing we really do is it's really interesting how technology is today. We use one of our smartphones, and we have an application on it called vAuto, and we scan the ID number. And what it does is, besides giving us approximate valuation of the car, it also tells us the service history, complete, okay, because that's an important tool to know that people really did take care of their car. Because cars that have been taken care of are worth more out, naturally. But it also, the first thing that pops up is any open recalls. So we know right away. And it really, we need to know that information because when we take a car in trade, there is diminished value. That's why Lexus does give up, an additional $2,500. But a lot of cars from, the mainstream manufacturers that have these recalls, then people take it on the chin. So I believe that the manufacturers and the dealers really have the obligation to do their best. If someone doesn't want to drive that car, then we have to do our best to try to take them out of that
Right.
car and put them in another one. So, but unfortunately, what's happened is a lot of people are recall numb because that's all you hear about it. And there's so many people on the road that haven't been noticed because they change addresses, they move around, and sometimes it's very difficult because motor vehicle and insurance doesn't necessarily always update that information. So sometimes it's very, very difficult to track.
Right, and some
So-
people get recall notices and they go, "Oh man, not another one,"
Right.
because
Yeah.
they get
Or,
inundated.
or
with them.
yeah, I'm driving my car every day. It seems fine.
Yeah,
And also, I
Yeah.
think there's recall notices that ask you specifically, do you still own the car?
Right.
And they ask you to send that back so this way they can update their systems. And I would assume a lot of people don't do that.
they send them back in the trash, is what they do.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, it's just very important to keep our listeners updated. Gary, do you have the government site?
Yeah, there's two of them. One is called safercar.gov. That you pop that website up and you just put your VIN in there. And the other one is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website. It's NHTSA. Yeah, that's it. .com. And you put your VIN number in there. I just got a recall on my brand new motorcycle. And I went in there and popped it
I
in there.
heard about that.
Yeah. And that's a bad one, too. The oil cooler is supposed to be leaking by the rear tire. So if that doesn't get your attention.
Yeah, that would not be good. Interestingly enough, Gary, Key Safety Systems, name of the company,
Yes.
is actually a Chinese-owned supplier with U.S. headquarters in Sterling Heights, Michigan.
Yes.
But it is a Chinese-owned company, and they are paying you 100% correct, $1.6 billion to acquire the Takata Kia assets. And it says here that the federal bankruptcy judge will have to authorize the deal, which will help Takata raise funds to pay its recall and settlement costs.
Yeah, this one says U.S. airbag maker, so maybe they're owned by a company in Japan and they're making these airbags in the United
Well,
States.
they are. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, they're stationed up
Yeah.
in
In
Michigan.
Michigan, correct. That's where everything's built.
They have 60,000 employees, and they service accounts in 23 different countries to service the airbags and seat belts and a whole host of other things. So it's serious stuff, and if you have any questions, feel free to call us at the dealership. Either ask for Gary or myself, and any information that we could pass on that will be helpful to you, we're happy to do it.
I mean, this doesn't. It affects people with the newer cars that they're driving, but it also affects them if they need to trade it in or
Correct.
that used car buyer.
Yes.
I mean, the whole group of cars that would be the next generation of used cars have problems with airbags.
We get lists from the manufacturer with cars that are in our area that we have serviced.
Yes.
And that are registered within our prime area of responsibility. Every new car dealership has an area that they're supposed to treat and attend to. And interestingly enough, one of the things that we've done is we've expanded that search because on a lot of the lower end car lots and independents and buy here, pay here car lots and stuff like that, where a lot of people don't pay attention to that, we look for lists through Carfax and different ways to locate these cars, and we will call those companies and let them know you have a particular car that's on the lot, and we'd like to come by and pick it up and put a new airbag in for you. We're trying to service the community and these other dealerships that might not really be aware of it, and of course they have no way to fix the car.
We found a
Right,
we
right.
found a dozen of those independent car lots that have airbag recall cars. on
well,
their
that's just.
lot.
I mean, that's the integrity of the company.
Well, we're
I'm
trying
sure
to,
that some of the other manufacturers aren't doing that.
Well, it's not necessarily manufacturer specific; it's dealership specific.
Okay.
And we just feel that cars are sold in our market, and it's of our brands, that it's incumbent on us to make sure and to look and to see if we can minimize any potential issues down the road.
Sure.
So, and I really take my hat off to the service and parts team for doing that because, you have so much to do during the day, and this is going over and above to service clients that aren't even our clients.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to take this serious, and you got to raise your hand at some point and say, we have some responsibility in this, and obviously we didn't create the problem,
Right.
but we want to make sure that people in our market, in our area, are safe, even if they're buying something from somebody else. So,
Right, they're not Lexus
Yeah, that's
airbags.
being a big part of the solution, though.
well, it's important, because a lot of people don't pay attention to it, and we feel it's important. So here's something that, just to shift gears for a minute, no pun intended, but here's something that I got this email today. It's from a company called Reputation.com. And what they're saying is that the millennials, okay, which is the next up-and-coming market group, it was spoken in the last couple of years that millennials really don't buy cars, and they live in the city, and they use mass transit, and they're not buying cars like baby boomers did and other generations did. Well, the article basically says, so you thought millennials didn't care about owning new cars. It says, think again. They're the fastest growing segment of new car buyers, growing from 29% of the car market in 2016, whereas in the next 3 years it's projected that 40% of millennials will make up the entire new car market. So obviously that creates, I think, new challenges for car dealerships. Number one, it's a whole new market. How do you deal with it? And what they said was, they asked the question, how do you attract millennial buyers?
On the internet.
But how? You're close. You're warm.
Clickbait. Is it clickbait?
Yeah, there you go. Clickbait.
Well, they say that the most important attribute for millennials when they're shopping for a car is online reviews. So it says here 97% of millennials read local online reviews before walking into your dealership. If not excellent, they'll go elsewhere.
We're in good shape then.
Now, well, let's be humble in our victories, Gary. What we've learned is that independent dealerships, it used to be that, going back 10, 15 years, that the average buyer would visit 7 or 8 dealerships. And by the time they visited the 8th dealership, even if they were looking to buy the same car from the same manufacturer, the story was so different they didn't know what to believe anymore.
Right.
So then comes along this little thing with a wireless keyboard and a little computer screen, and then we get an iPhone.
Yes, pocket internet.
And it allows us to do all the homework and research, okay, on the particular cars that we want. The average, I repeated the number 11.7 hours many, many times that the average new car prospective purchaser does the homework, but now they say it's more than 12 hours. And once they isolate, the first thing they really do is they look at the trade value, because this way it gives them kind of an idea, understanding of what they have to work with. And then they start to research the different manufacturers, and when they finally zero it down to which car they truly think they want, what they do is they'll do a comparison with pre-owned CPO cars because of the great new warranties and the new car. But what's interesting is the thing that they pay the most attention to now, these days, are the reviews of the respective dealerships. So this is something that in the last couple of years, I know both Gary and myself and the rest of the management staff and really everybody at our 2 dealerships come to understand that we ask people what brought them into the dealership if they've never purchased from us before. So typically, if you sell somebody a car, and in our market, in the Lexus world, for example, it's 81, 82% are leased cars. So therefore, the majority of those people are going to always come back to the dealership for the 2 or 3 years and get the service. And if Gary and company take great care, which he does, okay, of the clients, more often than not, people are going to come back and they're going to buy another car. It's the sales consultant that will sell the first car. The second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and infinity from there are really done from the way that they're treated when they interact with the dealership. Something as simple as a phone call, something as simple as setting a service appointment, and something as simple as a greeting on the service drive. So with all that said, people go online, and there are a couple of major sites that you can go to look at reviews. So the first one that I would tell our listening audience to look at would be dealerrater.com. That is a national independent organization, and dealerships don't pay. Okay, they can pay for advertising on their website, but obviously you cannot pay for a review because that wouldn't be right. So what we've learned is from asking people when they're sitting in our offices, what brought you to the dealership? Says, well, we're interested in the brand, number one, but more importantly, we love the reviews that you guys had. And it's funny because if you have all really, really good reviews, some people will take a step back and say, well, how could that be?
Right.
It's got to be
That
contrived. It
right.
can't be
You're
real.
a little right. You're a little skeptical then. Yeah.
So
They're friends and relatives to the reviews.
we got a review 2 or 3 years ago on I think it was Cars.com, and the client who filled out the review made a mistake on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. They thought 1 was the best,
Okay.
and they reversed the score.
So it was your worst review ever.
That happened.
Well, it was a 1, and it was really a worst review. But what was interesting was that if you read the comments, it was a great dealership. They really enjoyed the
Right.
buying experience, and he really had some wonderful things to say about the sales consultant and just about the process and procedure. And I called Cars.com. I said, it doesn't appear right to me. It doesn't feel right that someone can make a mistake how they check the box, but they wrote really wonderful words about the dealership. It seems that it's a conflict. It doesn't make sense. What can we do about it? And the woman on the phone said to me, Steve, maybe it doesn't pay. You shouldn't do anything, because the way people look at reviews now online, and this is not just for the car business, it's for every business, is that you can click on and look at just the good reviews, or you can click on and look at just the bad ones. So if you're one of those people that wants to see all the negative stuff that a particular company goes through, then you click on negative, and it will give you the list of these things. So you click on the negative for our dealership, the Lexus store, and it had the 1 bad review. But if you read on, you have to
The one
scratch your head
bad review that said good things.
that said wonderful things. So it's
Yes.
kind of like,
Yeah.
well, what does that really mean? But more often than not, I know I love to ask that question when people are sitting in front of me and say, what brought you here? And they do look at reviews. They even isolate the sales consultant that they want to do business with that they've never met before.
Based on the reviews.
Based on the reviews.
Wow.
And I've watched it with my own eyes. I've seen couples come in, and they ask for a particular client, and I would sit there listening, and he says, he's not here right now. Can so-and-so help you? He says, well, we were looking at the reviews online. He had the best reviews. We want to work with him. So you cannot minimize.
So everybody else needs to work as hard as he does so that they get the same kind of reviews.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, is it a function of working harder so everybody gets the same review, or is it a function of the type of culture
Matching
that you have?
personalities.
Okay. Not every client is going to get along with every sales consultant, so you have to make sure that fit is a good fit. And I think the most important thing that I've learned in my career is that if you try to interest someone in buying a car from you the way you want to sell it, you might be successful maybe in selling the car, but the level of satisfaction and the way people look at your company is not as effective as if when people come in and you say, how do you like to buy your cars? Let's go ahead and work it and do things the way you want. Mr. Customer, you're going to dictate how it is.
But
And it's
that's a
really-
real out-of-the-box approach when it comes to car dealers, because it's been that same old way for so long.
Well, I don't think Albert Einstein was crazy when he said if you keep doing things the same old way, you're going to get the same old results.
Right. This is
And
true.
it's really interesting. There was an article published in TC Palm
Said that same thing.
June 19th.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because they had called our dealership and wanted an interview talking about innovations in the car business,
Okay.
and safety equipment and stuff like that. So whenever we get an opportunity to do something like that and to be able to get an article about some of the new technology and the new things that we try to do, we're hand raisers all the time. We're always looking for pilot programs to try different things. We have to step out because technology is changing faster than everything, and we want to be ahead of that curve. And those who get there first are going to be the winners. So it's very, very important for people to understand when they first walk into our dealership that how we're going to do business is the way that they feel they would like to do business. And it was so funny. The other day, I have something remind me, Gary, about flat tires that we have to talk about.
Okay.
What happened yesterday was
Wow.
such an anomaly. We'll get to that in a minute. It was
Yesterday
really interesting. Getting back to our nitrophil lectures and the things that we talk about that. But it was just so interesting because we had a very interesting dichotomy of people that came into the dealership yesterday, and everyone wanted to do things differently. And the first deal that I was watching as the salesman came in was that the client didn't want to know lease payments, didn't want to know a purchase price. He only wanted to know what his car was worth.
Okay.
Now,
Well, did he want to just know where to start?
well, I think that that was the way he's used to buying cars.
Okay.
And
Read
he,
someplace
and he
saying,
wanted
"Let's get the
it was
trade
probably
out of the
Consumer
way."
Reports
Yeah.
or something. But basically, he wanted to bifurcate the issues, and he wanted this on its own what the car was worth. And so I smiled, and I'm happy to do it. We went out and we appraised the car, and we told him what the car was worth. And then he said, "Well, now I'd like to know what a lease is." And we give him a lease. And then he wanted to know out of his equity, how much could we give him back to get his payment to XYZ. And it was just interesting because some people want the trade in the beginning. Other people will, throw the trade in at the end. It really doesn't matter to us which way, shape, or form, because we're going to try to give exactly what the car's worth. Because if it's a nice car, and a one-owner car, and it's a clean Carfax, that's a car we're going to fight very, very hard to get because it just restores and builds our.
Now, what if
our
he
used
didn't
car
want a
inventory.
new car at all? Would you?
Same thing.
Could he sell that car to
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Many times, people will come in, and we do buy cars off the street. And for our listeners, if you do have a car that you're anticipating selling, maybe you're going down from 2 cars to 1, or you're relocating or something, and you'd like to sell the car, we'd be interested in taking a look and making an offer. Yes. It's safe, obviously. We're a reputable dealership. And we have all the different gauges on the dashboard to determine, what fair market value is on the car. And if it's a clean car and a clean Carfax car and a car that has good service history, it's a storybook car for us.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that when you list it online, which 90% of the people are going to, it's going to tell a story about it. And not the little old lady story. It's going to talk about, the meticulously maintained. It's going to talk about the type of service that was done. And that's the kind of car that you want to buy. So, once again, just changing gears from the online reviews. We're going to come back to this because it really is such a fascinating topic, and it is ruling retail business, and not just in the car business.
Sure.
So, yesterday was such a crazy day.
Flats.
Now, we talk about nitrophil. Gary has shared with the world about the trees that we're planting and what nitrophil is and the benefits and everything. But the biggest benefit of nitrophil, one of them, was that, God forbid, if road hazard and the tire blows out, get a new tire for free.
Right.
Well, what happened yesterday, Gary?
Yesterday was an anomaly. It was an atmospheric anomaly because it's hot. It's very
Right.
hot. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I would have to think that it did. We had 3 cars come into the dealership back to back to back. One of them was just purchased on Saturday that they had hit an obstruction in the road and punctured the tire. Well, when you're driving down the highway and it's 95 degrees outside, the pavement's going to be 130, and that tire is hot, hot, hot. Well, the nitrogen tries to keep it a lot cooler than air does, but there was the puncture. It happened instantaneously, and the tire went flat. And of course, when that happens, you're driving the car 35, 40 miles an hour, and you got to slow down. So you're riding the car on the tire, and it's starting to disintegrate because it's hot and heat and stuff like that. 3 customers yesterday came in, and I mean it was back to
2 of
back
which
to back.
Bought the cars within a week.
Yeah,
Wow.
within a week. Normally,
Were they all on 95? Because I blame 95 for everything.
one was on Prima
One was
Vista.
one was on the Roosevelt Bridge.
Yes.
With the NX.
Yes.
Okay.
But what I found fascinating was, for the most part, when that happens in any dealership anywhere in the country, who's responsible for the tire? The new owner
Clients,
is.
yeah.
Okay, always. I mean, it's not. We didn't share in the obstruction in the road. And
Right,
We didn't hit the
right.
road.
Can you imagine
And-
buying a brand new car on Saturday, drove it Sunday, and then Monday you had this flat and you had 237 miles on your car?
And you got to spend
Yeah.
$300 for a tire.
Well,
Yeah.
we bought a truck, and my husband drove it to work. The very next morning, it had 20 miles on it. 20. It got hit by the garbage truck
Yeah.
in the parking lot at work.
That's happened to me before.
He was like, I didn't even see it. We were there together, took delivery. I went one way, he went the other way, and
But
you know.
with the nitrofill program, you have road hazard, and it's obstructions in the road.
Okay.
So so basically, we saw the people hanging out in the showroom, and when they were telling us what happened, you always want to make sure everybody's safe and everything. But Steve, the nitrofill program, we don't have to pay a dime. I mean, how cool
Yeah.
is that? So, and it doesn't cost. We don't charge the clients for
No.
nitrofill on a new car.
We don't. It comes
We
with it.
believe that it is such an important upgrade from just normal air because of all the benefits and everything. That it's because whatever it costs, it's something that we pass along to the client, and the benefit is amazing. So these 3 people left on their way happy, new tire, balanced, mounted.
Wow.
But
and-
that's amazing that they were like brand new tires.
Well, one of the
And-
gentlemen that was affected by this process, his car was the oldest of the 3. Came into my office afterwards, and he says, "So, how do you really feel about this nitrogen? Is it just smoke, and does it really work?" And I said, "Well, I'm a firm believer in it." And I said, "And you should be now because you just got a free tire.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether it works or not, you
It
got a free
paid
tire.
off.
It paid off, right? So,
Yeah.
and
Well, look, the racing teams in Formula One
They
and
use
stock
them.
cars and everything use it. I mean, they must know what they're doing.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Obviously, when
and
you-
airplane manufacturers.
Sure. And imagine how hot those tires get.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, well, you see it if you watch NASCAR or IMSA or Formula One. You see the rubber just coming off of those tires all the time. So yeah, you got to keep them cool. Nitrogen does that.
And you guys had them in and out 1, 2, 3, and we keep a huge supply of tires.
Yeah.
So,
but that was just the oddest thing, man. And it just so happened that Kathy had 2 of them back to back. She comes on, "Can you believe I got 2 of these tires that are flat?" And blah blah blah. So, but
now
it worked out
imagine
okay.
though, okay, the other scenario, alternative B, where the dealership doesn't see value in it, and the people came in after buying a car less than a week ago, and the tire blows out.
Yeah.
Imagine the conversation. Well, why do I have to pay for it? I just bought the car. And it doesn't matter how reasonable the client is; they still feel I just bought
I
this
just
car.
bought it.
How could this
yeah.
be?
Yeah.
So we take that out of the equation now with nitrofill, and we're just glad they were okay, and everything worked out.
And they're back on the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the bottom line is, it was not a manufacturer-specific issue. They hit something, and the tire blew, and one was a Michelin, one was a Bridgestone, and I think maybe 2 Michelin, 1 Bridgestone.
Yeah, it was
something
2
like that.
Michelins and 1 Bridgestone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not manufacturer-specific. Just one of those crazy things. So, getting back to the reviews. So, would it be safe to say that someone who got a blowout, someone spent whatever they spent on the car, and they would have had to pay $300 for the tire, but they came in, fixed it, sent them on their way, no charge. What does that do for your degree of customer satisfaction? What does it do for the potential of getting a positive review online?
Your reputation.
And
Right.
it's-
Plus those 3 people that you took care of, they have friends,
right.
and the word of mouth is
It's priceless. So there is tremendous truth that clients, once they zero in what they want, they look at respective dealerships that are close to them, reasonably close to them. And sometimes if there's nothing that's really close to them that they like to that they're not happy with the reviews, they will drive to a place that that has better reviews. It's just like
Sure.
a restaurant. If a new restaurant's open, would you drive an extra 10 miles if it's 5-star and people are raving about it?
sure.
Of course. So why wouldn't you do that for a car dealership, for an appliance? You go into a Bell South store, okay, AT&T, and you want to upgrade your phone. Are they all created equal? Are all the stores the same? Are all the sales reps the same?
Yeah,
Of
that's
course
an
not.
investment in your time.
Yes. But can I
Go in there, you're
but you
in
know,
there for a
it's-
while.
It's really funny. I ordered flowers online for my wife recently, and instead of flowers, because they only last 4 or 5 days, I bought a plant, and it looked like a beautiful plant in the picture, and a flowering plant. And when it came, it looked horrible.
Nothing like the picture.
No, it
That's
looked
kind of like
nothing-
food on TV.
Yeah.
It
You
looks
know,
really good, and then you go
really,
order, and
what's
you're
up
like,
with
wait a
that?
second.
And I was really, really, really disappointed, terribly. So I got an email a couple days later asking for a review, and I held off.
And you felt, how dare they ask me for a review after all that?
No, I mean, I think it's good because I do believe that if you can look at the reviews also the reviews to get better. So it's diagnostic as well. Sure, you want as many good ones as so, but also if there is a problem and you respond to it and you correct the problem, I mean that's a blessing in and of itself that you were able to learn from
and
that.
if you ordered it online, the online service, it came from one of their connections, not necessarily directly
Right,
from
right.
them. That this is out of their
Subcontracted.
control.
Exactly.
They
So-
need to know if this
So
is happening.
I got another follow-up email about company feedback about everything, and I decided to take that because it was not a public thing. So I wrote that I've used the site before, and I've always had good success, and that this time when the plane came, it was really, really in bad shape, and it doesn't look like it's going to come back to life. If you'd like, I could take pictures, which I did, and I didn't send them, though. But I was very, very disappointed, and I was disappointed more for my wife that didn't get exactly what I thought she would, get the bang for the buck and the smile. So I got a follow-up. I mean, this is, a big company. I got a follow-up personalized email with a coupon to buy another flower for free.
Okay.
And about a week later, I got another survey. And I gave them all 5s, which was the best. And I wrote about the experience after the fact, that they were truly concerned, and they didn't blow me off, and that it was important enough to try again. So they gave me a certificate that I can order another flower online for free, plant. And to me, look, perishable things, it happens. But when a company steps up and says, let's try it again, we want you to be completely happy with us, I felt that that's basically the culture of the company. And I gave them 5s, even though there was a problem with it. But the very fact that they responded, they cared.
So it's
they
how
sent me
they
a
took care
coupon,
of it.
and how they took care of it, that's a 5 all day long. So would I order again when Mother's Day or anniversaries or for anything? Would I order again from the company? Absolutely. I would try it again. So these are things that are across the board in the retail business that people really, really pay attention to. And millennials think differently. They're younger.
Yes, they do.
everything
Wired
is,
completely different.
well, when you say
We have a few.
yeah, well, it's funny because they're really not wired. Everything is
Social media.
social media. So clearly, you have to adjust the way you do things, and you have to communicate differently because they're not coming into the dealership except to drive it and then take it.
But
If that's
Steve,
what they
they're-
want.
They don't even want to have a conversation with actual
No, they're
speaking.
teaching us. They're teaching
They're
us.
texting each other constantly.
And they're teaching us how they want to conduct business and stuff like that. Everything you do is online, like cruise. I was telling Steve earlier this morning, I'm taking my first cruise ever, non-military cruise, and Sharon has been on websites for a week, and we finally figured out which one we want, and it's all done online. You
And I
pay-
would
look at
assume
it
that
online, you pay it
Sharon,
online.
when she was online looking, I would assume that she looked at the reviews and what people have to say.
Yeah, she looked at them. So her and Gunnar sit home and watch the computer for cruise specials.
The only time that I remember reviews not really giving a 100% accurate picture remember read movie reviews?
Okay,
And what
yes.
certain,
Yeah, well, they have
reviews
critics
they
that
look
do
at.
those, though.
There are sometimes when I really want to go see a movie and I read it, and I read the review to my wife, and says, "Oh, they said it was terrible. It was this. It's 1 star out of 5 and everything." But I'm going anyway, and I had the best time, and it was a
Right.
great movie.
Yeah.
So that's something that is more of a subjective. But when you do business with somebody, you go out for a great meal, you do something that's extraordinary, you're going to get a good review. If you can wow people and make them feel special and make them feel that you are there to serve them, and that's what we do. I mean, we're all servants to people who want to come in and buy and
See,
service their
when I
cars.
check too, I always scroll down. I get deep into it because I don't want just the first ones. Because usually the best ones are the first ones. And
Well,
even when you Google
yeah.
something, that first thing that pops up is supposed to be the most popular.
That's if
Scroll down.
That's if the people are paying attention to their social media sites, because the more you look at them and the more you update them and you change things in them, they continue to rise
Right,
up the chain. So we do that all the time. That's why when you look at our stuff, it pops up first. because
Right.
We're all over it because we know we've been educated by the millennials that, hey, we're social media people and this is the way we're going to do business. So if you want to work with us, then you need to get on board.
Right.
And I'm very proud to say that our Lexus store, we're probably approaching now on the 3 different sites, close to 500 online reviews. And it's really interesting to sit and read them, and it makes you feel that that there's pretty good culture, always room for improvement, but for the most part, people are very happy to sit and write a book about their experience and that they're really thrilled and happy and that they would recommend you.
You know,
Because
Steve,
when that comes out.
we have a very diversified staff as well.
Sure.
I mean, from millennials all the way up to old people like me and you.
Well, I'm sorry, speak for
Like-
yourself.
Like you.
Hey, wait a minute.
Old? Wait a second.
But our staff as well. I mean, we're so diversified. I've got a service advisor, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, that are millennials, and then I've got service advisors that are the X generations and the Y generations, and I've got females and stuff like that. So you want to always try to put personalities with personalities and stuff like that. So,
But it all boils down, Gary, to you've done an incredible job as far as assimilating culture and making everybody understand what the prime mission is and
Right.
exactly what people's expectations are. Because once you understand the expectation of a client, it's not that hard to exceed it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we have to teach. And when people come in, and really, if they're buying a $10,000 car versus a $100,000 car, why should they be treated any differently?
Right.
Even if you sell a $5,000
Because they're your
pre-owned car.
customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you take care of them, they will be your customer for life, and that's what we all want.
can I talk about service specials just for a minute?
Sure.
Before we lose track of everything. again?
Absolutely.
This month, well, actually, it's been going on for a couple of months. We've got a couple different service specials I would like to talk to you about. We have our complimentary
Gary, a
engine
little closer.
diagnostic. Sorry, I was leaning back.
Yeah, I know. I was losing you there.
I just got out of physical therapy, man. I'm whipped.
Oh,
So we have our.
He speaks so softly, too.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Big man with a soft voice
And heart.
and heart. yeah, I do have a big heart. Complimentary engine diagnostics. We will scan your check engine light for free, let you know what it's going to need to fix it. If you choose to fix it, then, of course, we have competitive pricing for that. But if you don't, then you'll know what's wrong with your car anyway.
right. Mm-hmm.
We've got do-it-yourself parts specials, 20% off any part in stock over the parts counter. Our Saturday service special is becoming quite a hit, 10% off your entire bill on a Saturday. Of course, we have our senior citizens discount. That's 10% off your entire bill. We have our customer appreciation
Do you
cash.
qualify for that, Gary?
I do not. Thank you very much.
Do you have a military discount?
You know what?
We
What
do
does this say?
on purchase or lease of new cars, $1,000,
Yeah.
active military.
And this says we honor our military. Come in and let us serve you. Whether you're a veteran, you're active, or whatever, even your spouse. Okay, so yes,
Great.
all branches. We have our customer appreciation cash. We always have that, $25 to spend any way you'd like. Wow, this is new. Nitrogen. Nitrogen.
Speaking of.
We have nitrogen and alignment specials. You can come in and get nitrogen put in your tire for $39.95, and we'll do a wheel alignment at the same time for $69.95.
Now that is a great price
That's a
for
great
wheel
price.
alignment.
It is very great, and we're as always we're competitive with our tire pricing. This is an exciting thing that we have a car spa special. If you come in, we will revitalize your Lexus with the following professional services. You'll get a complete detail. And that means clean the interior and exterior, hand wax it, shampoo all the seats and carpets, and condition the interior trim parts, dash, and tires. And then we will do a state-of-the-art diagnostics, top off all your fluids, adjust your air pressure, do an onboard diagnostic scan of your computer systems, change your oil and filter, rotate your tires, and do a fuel system service on your car. And that is all for $388.88.
And then saving over $200.
Over $200 savings, yes. And it's very popular. So that's all I have.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, some great news for consumers out there. Another article. This was today's, and also USA Today. And the title of this article was Gas Prices Stun Analysts. July 4th prices are lower than January 1st. According to Gas Buddy, the consumer data tool, that the 4th of July is going to be less expensive to buy gas than it was for New Year's. And first time that they've said that in something like 13 years. So it's gas right now, average of $2.21 a gallon.
Okay.
And that
I
is-
filled up this morning, 208.
Yeah, here on the Treasure
Actually,
Coast, it's a lot
Yeah.
I'll
cheaper.
tell you on
I
the
was
way
in
over
Bureau,
here.
so
Yeah, well, different taxes, I
Yeah.
believe. But in Fort Pierce, I noticed it's $2.08. Yeah, for regular, which is unbelievable. So that is what's fueling this massive sport utility, pickup truck, and crossover sales. I mean, it's really crazy. Another thing that I just want to say, because I know we're getting a little close on time here, about new car prices. The average price of a new car today is $33,261. That is according to Edmunds. And what I will say about that is that if you look at updating a car every 2, 3, or 4 years, you really need to take a very, very serious look on leasing. Because basically, instead of paying the $33,000, which is just an average, okay, some are a little bit less and some are a lot more, and financing a car to make affordable payments for 72 months, and a lot of people do it for 84 months, please ask us to take a look at 2-year, 3-year, and 4-year leasing. It's so much more popular right now. It defrays the high cost of the payments, and with the more expensive vehicles like crossovers and pickup trucks, I mean, you got trucks out there, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 trucks. You got sport utilities that range from the 20s all the way up to 100 plus. They're expensive vehicles, and we really want to show you a better way and a different way with the evolving technology every couple of years, with all the things that are coming out. It really makes a lot of sense to explore leasing, because to finance a car that's $40,000 or $50,000, you're looking at exorbitant payments, and basically 6 years or 7 years is almost equivalent to a life sentence.
Well, if you look at it that way, if you're going to be leasing for that long a term, you're going to have that same old car the whole time. Mm-hmm. If you lease it for half as much time, you're going to get yourself into a brand new car.
Every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because people will say, well, I'm not going to own it. But when you own it after 7 or 8 years of paying for it, or 6 years, what do you really have? I mean, it really doesn't matter what kind of car it is. I mean,
usually I get my title back from the state, and the bank's all paid off, and within like 6 months I get a new car anyway. So.
But along those lines, I just want to go ahead and repeat some of the specials that are ending this Friday that you really need to take a hard look at. So these are all brand new 2017s. The CT200H, which is a small hatchback that gets 42 miles to the gallon, with zero out of pocket. It's $309 a month for a 36-month lease. And this is not a 2, 3, 4, or 5,000 mile a year lease. This is a 10,000 mile a year lease. So more than enough miles. The IS200T, 4-door sports sedan, with zero out of pocket is $379 a month. These are prices of ordinary cars, not luxury cars. Our NX200T, which is our sport utility, $389 a month with no money out of pocket. Our ES350, which is a 4-door midsize sedan that is unequivocally one of the finest cars for the money that you can buy, luxury car. It's $409 a month. Keep in mind, that's with no money out of pocket, and the average car payment is over $500 a month. And here you can have one for $409 a month plus tax. The RC200T, which is the sports coupe, $529 a month. GX460, $609 a month. And of course, you must come down and see our 471 horsepower LC 500. This car's amazing. Just come into the showroom and allow me a second just to start it up so you can hear it.
What's the lease payment on that thing, Steve?
It's up there.
Wait, and it's zero down,
What
and what's for the rest of my life?
The ones that we've sold, which we only have one left right now, waiting for more to come in, everyone was leased.
Okay.
So people do the math, and you're looking at a $100,000 car. Even on those terms, it's still less expensive to lease the car.
Yes, it is.
So anyway, the sale ends on Friday. Please come down to Treasure Coast Lexus. It's just south of Midway Road on US 1, and we have hundreds of cars on the lot right now, including a huge supply of CPO, certified pre-owned cars that are great values, great warranties with unlimited mileage.
Cute little Mini Cooper, I saw that.
Yeah, that's true, the convertible, absolutely.
Very cute.
And we have all makes and models, and also our Toyota dealership, which is down in Stuart on US 1, right in the heart of Stuart, and they have hundreds and hundreds of cars. Once again, they are breaking every record. Amber and team are doing an amazing job, and they're going to have another record month. So there are people that say the car business might be a little off or a little slow, but our two stores continually, especially Toyota, to break records and to serve and take care of our clients.
Because we treat our people right.
Then it's a good product.
It's a great product. What could be better? Toyota and Lexus. So
we'll see you next week.
Yes,
Yes,
you
we
will.
You're listening to the Treasure Coast Car Guys on WPSL Port St. Lucie, WSTU Stuart.